Let's make a 1920s dress. What you doing, buddy? You know I'm gonna need that fabric in a minute. That's my next project. See, I'm one in the fabric and the fabric is one with me. Well, I'm gonna take that fabric from him in a minute because that is my next project. Hi everyone, I'm Caitlin. I teach old-fashioned sewing skills on my channel, and we're gonna delve into the 1920s, which is my least favorite time period, but we have an ice cream social to go to on Saturday, and it is Tuesday? It's Tuesday. So I'm going to make myself a dress. Do you already have a 1920s dress? Yes. It's a little bit more 1930s, and that's why we're going to do an earlier 1920s dress. Also, this particular dress is going to mend a hole in my little wardrobe timeline because I don't have anything for early 20s. So this will be my one early 1920s dress. We are going to be using the an original 1921 pattern that's been graded up by Wearing History. Actually, no, it's actually just one size. I thought it was graded sizes. I might have to make this a little bit, okay. This shows how much I pay attention. No, this is the Marigold dress from 1921. And then for my fabric choice, I have a length of vintage fabric. And I wasn't sure about it for a while for this project, but I think we'll be okay. So we're gonna see how I can finagle this. I got plenty of fabric. I didn't want to spend any money on this project. And I really wanted a plaid because a lot of the originals in this style that I've seen are plaid and I fell in love. I have no plaid fabric. I have checks. Okay, I take that back. I do have plaid fabric. I have 20 yards of a plaid linen that I am saving, and I'm not going to waste it on a 1920s dress. This is what I have that's summer-ish. Yeah, let's go ahead and get cutting. Alright, we're cutting out hat pieces. I believe the pattern maker is Elsewhere in Time. And this is their Sybil hat. It's the first time I've used one of their patterns. I know you who do 20th century stuff more often would like to tell me the names of milliners I usually go to. I would love to hear it. I don't know if there's anything particularly wrong with these patterns. They don't seem to give historical directions, but I don't know this time period, and I don't know. Because the 1920s is a lot more modern than, say, what I usually do. So a more modern construction with like interfacing, and does call for fusible interfacing, which I'm pretty sure is wrong for the 1920s. But would interfacing at all be incorrect? That I don't know. Alright, so we are working on the hat first, mostly because I already had black thread in the machine. So this is my great-grandmother's 1907 treadle, and this is what I use for a lot of my 20th century stuff. Anything later than 1930s, I will use the 1930s machine. And I do have a 19-teens, 1920s machine. I have the wrong shuttle for it. So until I find the right shuttle, this is my 20th century machine. Alright, so apparently I did all that sewing on camera and chatted most of the time, and none of it got on film because my memory card got full and I wasn't aware. So I apologize for the missed footage, but hopefully from the 30 seconds of footage I got before it shut down, you got the idea of what I was doing. And I did end up using fusible interfacing, so yeah, that's all that Walmart had. Probably will need to stiffen that brim a little bit more. In fact, I'm wondering if I cut another thing of interfacing and put it on this, if that will help. I think I'll go ahead and do that. I'm going to stitch this brim down, so the brim lining, which I also put a interface in there. thread. That's why it was sounding funny. The directions have putting wire in here, but it's sticking out really nicely because I do have those 2 layers of interfacing. Also, I can't find my wire. I just bought some, and I set it aside near some silk because I was going to make an 1830s bonnet. Then I ended up not making the 1830s bonnet, and it's not where the silk is. So, I don't know. So that was my twofold reason to not put wire in. The other thing I'm going to do is trim it. I have a lot of bonnet trimmings. None of them I really liked. I don't necessarily want this hat to go with the dress we're making, but I don't want it to match. I want it to go though. So they need to look good together, but not match particularly. So I have this ribbon that is close-ish to the green color in the dress. So we're going to use this. I'm going to set that to the side. So I'm going to make a little bow. There is a 20s hat in the Met that has like a ribbon with a little tiny bow. And I think we'll just copy that as far as design choice. There's a 2-inch ribbon that I folded in half to more closely match the original proportions of trim. I'm going to stitch this down on the top and the bottom, just tiny little stitches. So it's very wide stitches on the back and then very small stitches in the front. That way it's not seen. And likely the original was only tacked in a few places. Alright, that's sewn all the way around, so I can go ahead and put on the little bow. Tack there. Alright, yeah, I'm happy with that. I think that looks fine. Alright, now we are at the dress portion. So I'm working on the skirt, which has tucks in the back. So 3 tucks, and they're 2-inch tucks. They're on the pattern piece, so I'm just stitching them down. So we're commencing with the actual putting together of the skirt. So I decided I want to trim the whole thing in rickrack, because I've seen an original 20s dress that was trimmed in rickrack, and I was like, oh, that's an easy trim to get. That's fairly cheap, so here we go. And we're going to make it to where you only see half the rickrack, and I will show you how that works in just a minute. Right. So this is what the trim ends up looking like. So it's like a little scallop. And I'm a sucker for scallops, so I like doing this kind of trim. On the left side there's a skirt placket just to get it on and off easier, so I'm going to just stitch this down. I'm also trying to stitch down the rickrack to face to the back on both sides, so I'm just doing a little top stitch. We are very nearly done with the skirt portion. I'm just going to do the hem next. And I put the front panel on the selvage and it is shorter, so I am not going to actually hem that at all. I'm going to leave it and just hem the other one to match. Saves myself a little bit of time. collar, I'm putting on the trim. Alright, now we're working on the very top. The kimono type part is, I believe, the period term for this. Or at least the kimono blouse, I think, is the period correct term. Anyway, it gets gathered into the shoulder line, so we're doing that. Sometimes I really miss working on the machine with no bobbin. It's very nice. To get rid of that raw edge. Because we're in the 20th century and proper dressmaking indicates that we should be finishing seams now. This is the kimono side seams, like underarm, essentially. And because it's the 20th century and I can do a French seam, we're going to do a French seam to finish it off. Now the collar goes on to the blouse. I'm also putting a binding. So I've been looking a lot into 20th century sewing manuals, so I know that I'm doing the techniques right because I haven't seen as many originals, or I haven't, paid close enough attention to the originals I have seen. And so I'm looking at period sewing manuals, and it does say that for a lot of collars you're doing the double layer, but it says if you're going to do a single layer collar to bind the edges. So we're going to bind the edges. Alright, this is the binding getting sewn on. Cuffs, and I am just sewing them the same way I did the collar, so hemmed it up. Also, I did have to cut about 2 inches off the sleeve because I have short arms. I sewed together the lining. It was just, side seams, which I Frenched, and then the shoulder seams. And so now I have the vest portion that we already put tucks in. I attached it on one side, and it looks like the front of it is gathered. So I'm going to sew this down. I'm still a little confused about exactly how this front goes. So I can see from the illustration, I'm just going to tie these ends off while we talk, that there's a lining that closes somehow, and the directions don't say how. And then the vest folds over that to somehow attach on the other side of the lining. So this is the lining and the kimono bodice and the collar kind of all getting stitched down here. Actually, I'm not stitching the collar because I don't want that seam to be seen from the front. But essentially, I'm attaching the bodice to the lining. And the lining bodice has a square neck, so I'm only sewing it to that point, and then it doesn't need to be sewn anymore. The rest of it's just going to kind of flap. Alright, we are winding down on the project. I am now adding the skirt to this whole top ensemble, because the top is just chaos. There's pieces and they're not all sewn together, and it's supposed to be that way, and it's weird. So I'm trying to sew the skirt just to the top kimono part. I'm not attaching it to the lining because the lining does not match up. In some cases it's much longer and in some parts it's much shorter. And it's weird where it's shorter and where it's longer. They don't match up to like where I, shifted something over wrong. It's just like the side seams are 2 inches shorter, but the back is like 2 inches long. It's weird. Not entirely sure this is how this works, but I'm sewing the front skirt placket to the vest, which is partially attached on one side to the lining. This probably makes no sense. It doesn't make any sense to me either, so. I'm still not entirely sure how this is going to turn out. I think I got it looking okay. It's really wonky on the inside, but I think it's gonna work. So right now I have buttons that are going onto the lining, and by I think it's gonna work, I hope it's going to work because we leave in like 30 minutes and this isn't done. I am gonna try it on after this though. Thanks, I hate it. So yeah, I really dislike the 1920s. Now if we made the same thing but raised up the waistline just to where it was, at my natural waist, and put in that little belt that you see, like the little self fabric belt, had it tied in the back, that would be cute. This is hideous. The hat is fine, I suppose. My hair is just kind of put back today. It's not actually put back, although my friend Allie had a fantastic idea. She has long hair too. She puts her hair into a ponytail until just the ends are about shoulder length, and then she pins it and she puts her hat and stuffs it in, and that way it looks like she has a bob. And I'm like, that's really smart, and I'm going to try that next time. Maybe that's my problem. Maybe I haven't figured out what is the purpose of the 1920s. Like the 1830s, yes, it's ridiculous. Yes, it's not very flattering in a lot of ways, but the point is to out-ridiculous everybody else. You're not trying to look prettier than anyone else. You're trying to out-ridiculous all the other women in the entire vicinity. And once I understood the purpose, I could do that. I can out-ridiculous anyone. That's fine by me. I haven't figured out the purpose behind this yet, except to look like a boy, which why would I want to do that? I have curves for a reason. Why do I want to hide them? That's it. I hate it. It's done. I now have a gap filled in the wardrobe, which I guess is the entire purpose of this project, and that's about it. So thanks for joining me. I hope you enjoyed it more than I did. If you did find some semblance of entertainment in this video, please like it, subscribe to the channel. I promise I do way more flattering stuff and cuter stuff most time periods. And with all that being said, have a fantastic week, and I'll see you back here in the next video for a much prettier project.